Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is a summary for the day of 719 for the 12th of February. So let's start off with the Kherson Front in the south. In the Kherson Front, we have the Ukrainians still at Krinky. They are still at Krinky. I can't imagine I'm still saying this. The Russians are attacking Krinky as usual. I'm not even sure if there's any assault, as despite the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians launched 2 attempts to storm the positions. But we do confirm that the Ukrainian forces are still at Krinky because they reported airstrikes at Krinky. So that's the thing. And on the opposite side of the shore, in the northern part of the Dnipro River, there is Russian drone strike on Ukrainian boats. So this happened basically. Based on the footage, it looks like these are rubber boats that was burning, and then one or two soldiers are died, and then there are a few that escaped the attack. So this is the situation over in the Krinky region. So and we move on from the Kherson Front. That's all from the Kherson Front. We move into the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is Zaporizhzhia Front. I actually not sure if I covered the myself. Okay, continue recording. I was worried that my face covered the video. So anyway, this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is the Zaporizhzhia city. This is the entire Zaporizhzhia Front. Over at the Kayamsky sector, there is nothing happening except there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by a MLRS published by the Russian Defense Ministry. So they fired this. This is the tornado MLRS and multiple hits, and I find it super inaccurate. I think it's super pointless. But no, the Russians use it, so so be it. So the over at Orikhiv, this is the Orikhiv sector, this Orikhiv city, and over at the Orikhiv sector, the Russian forces continue. So sorry, I'm confused by my zoom in, zoom out. So the Russian forces attack on the western part of Novoporovska. This information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and this was first reported on the 7th, 14th, 9th, and then now 12th. So this has been the Russians have been trying attack in this area here. They have been trying and see whether they can break through. We do not have any information of fighting over in the southern part, over at Verbove or in the Robotine region. There is, however, geolocation of Ukrainian drones battling on top of in the north, in the area of Verbove. So basically, the drone just hit each other. So these are air-to-air combat, air-to-air drone combat. And yeah, it's very old school. You know, if you look at the history of naval warfare, the navy ships in the past, they just ram each other. So now we are seeing the ancient times, ancient era of drone warfare. So maybe in the future you're gonna start to see drones of using flamethrowers, and then after that use arrows. Yeah, then the drones will then board each other. Go over to the Velika Novosibirsk sector. This is the Velika Novosibirsk sector. Sorry, the Huyaipole sector. There is also geolocation over at the Melanivka region. So for this one, is a helicopter guided missile. They basically fired a helicopter guided missile at this warehouse. Perhaps this is actually some kind of HQ or forward operating base for the Ukrainian forces over at this front line. So yeah, so that happens. They hit there. We move on over to the Velika Novosibirsk sector. This is Velika Novosibirsk, and at this sector over here, there is fighting reported at Prione. The Russian forces reportedly attacked at Prione region. Otherwise, that's about it in this region. We also have geolocation of some actions with guided rockets. So let me So it's basically just those pod rockets firing at Ukrainian positions. It's very small, you can't see it. But if you have access to this mapping, you'll be able to find the link to the video. And to get the map, you have to become a DPA officer. What happens is that you have to pay $10 a month. But what you do is that you actually help to support DPA's work, because yeah, my views are shit. So I need you guys to support, and luckily I do have support of up to 200 people within the DPA community. So I'm very grateful. Over at the Donetsk Front, this is Donetsk City, and this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, Russian forces continue their attack over at Horlivka, Vuhledar. Over in the northern part of Novo-Mikhailivka, fighting at Novo-Mikhailivka itself. There's fighting reported towards Vuhledar, and then there's fighting over in the southern part of Zaporizhzhia. And particularly, this is something very interesting. We haven't seen fighting over at Zaporizhzhia since the 13th of January, and before that the last attack was on the 29th of November. So this attack is interesting because we have been looking at this area here for some time, with the Russians have been consistently trying to push northwards towards Zolotaneva, towards this one. Now suddenly maybe they are finding it a bit hard to go through to Zolotaneva. They open a new vector of attack, and this time around they go for Zaporizhzhia. So this is actually very interesting. And previously we also have reports about fighting reported at Shevchenko, and this was actually the report from yesterday. So the Russians have been probing the entire front line in this region here, trying to find where is the good place for them to penetrate through, or they're just trying to keep the Ukrainians guessing, and send the Ukrainians going left and right, trying to support the troops in this area here. We will continue to monitor what is the situation around here. The fighting reported towards Vuhledar continues to intrigue me as well. Now this is a consistent 10 to the 12 already. There's still no reported frontline changes in this area here. I'm very curious what is the frontline change. How do the Russians attack for so long and then we have no updates? So we will continue to monitor and see what happens over in this Vuhledar region. Fighting at the Novo-Mikhailivka region went very quiet. We do not know much. We have some passing comments by Ryba saying about fighting north of Konstantinivka, and yeah, so I probably mapped this not exactly correct. So yeah, but it is what it is. Over at the Marinka sector, the Russian forces have some capture. Over at the Horlivka region, the Russian forces attack in the southern part of this reservoir or lake region and managed to capture most of it. And they are now moving into the center part of Horlivka. The Russian forces previously have some success in the north. So we will continue to monitor to see what is the situation around this area. Further south of it is Vuhledar, and the Russian forces captured this tree line over this location. This tree line along the highway, they are going down the highway towards Vuhledar. And so the Vuhledar, previously the Russians have actually been geolocated within it before, very long time ago. So this is a different Ukrainian armed forces versus a very different Russian armed forces. So we will continue to monitor to see how this progress. North of the Marinka region, there is some shelling. However, if you look at the video, it looks a bit too snowy to be recent. So this is geolocated by military summary. So I believe this is actually a dated video. So no, just don't take it too hard. Don't believe this. I don't think this is actually recent. But anyway, there is a geolocation proving that Ukrainian forces are there. Just that I'm not sure if it's current in this sense. So we move on away from the Donetsk Front. We moved into the Avdiivka Front. So this is Avdiivka city, and this is the Avdiivka Front. And this is where the Russians are launching their Battle of Avdiivka. Fighting continues to be reported in the northern part, and fighting reported towards Donetsk as well and towards Nevelsky. The number of vector of attack have reduced a lot. I believe it's mainly because the Russians are focusing on the Avdiivka itself, and of course sending the attack from the Donetsk region to distract the Ukrainian reinforcement over at the Semenivka, Horlivka, and Lastoshkine region, and of course the usual over at Nevelsky. So we will continue to monitor. In the northern part, I have no registered frontline changes. However, based on other people's mapping, like Surya maps, and I also saw a calibrated map. What they suggest in their mapping is that the Russian forces may have captured all the way up to this area here along this lake, and they have expanded their control around the Avdiivka railway station, and also there's some slight growth of the front line towards where the reinforcement is supposed to be coming. Um, yeah, you cannot see the arrow. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is the situation because they are not my primary sources right now, so I'm not mapping this information in yet, but I want to tell you that this is actually something that I saw, and it could actually be happening. So I will always continue to be reviewing the sources that I'm using, so I would know when to change, when not to change, when to add. Maybe some other sources, is dropping in standards that I've dropped. So we'll continue to monitor and to see what is the situation. And over at the Bataichi region, there is a geolocation of Lancet attack on a Bradley infantry fighting vehicle, yeah, this is actually quite sad, I would say, because the Bradleys have been doing a very good job for the Ukrainian forces to hold the front line in the Bakhmutivka and Badaichi Zapove region, doing hit and run attacks, and they sent in fire at the Russian position, and then they scoot. So this has been done very effectively. So though every loss of this limited number of Bradleys is always a loss, a major loss that cannot be replaced, because they don't really have much replacement right now. Whatever happened in the political situation in the United States is now affecting the aids that is going into Ukraine, and I'm not even sure if the Americans have more Bradleys to give, given that Bradley is not really a much used vehicle nowadays, and they still have their domestic needs to maintain a certain military posture to defend their own grounds. So anyway, over at the New York front, this is New York City, and the Ukrainian forces are reportedly still on their counter-offensive in this region here, with Ukrainian forces attacking Mayos, Pivdene, and New York. This could be a repeat of the yesterday's information, but it is important that this is ongoing, and I believe this is some kind of a new action or new strategic decision by the new commander-in-chief, Syrsky, of the Ukrainian armed forces. They're trying to put pressure on the Russians towards Horlivka in this area here, so that the Russians will be distracted and have to send forces to help out and defend Horlivka. However, from my observation, the Russians may have superior manpower at the front line, and they may not need to draw forces from other front line to help out in defense. You really need to do a lot in order to force the Russians to do it, like during the 2023, the last year's counter-offensive, where the pressure on Robotyne is so big that the Russians actually have to draw out forces from the Kreminna Front to support the defense over at the Robotyne. But tentatively, I don't think the Ukrainians have that kind of forces right now to conduct effective counter-offensive operation or offensive operation. Over at Bakhmut, this is Bakhmut, and this is the Bakhmut Front. At the southern part of the Bakhmut Front, we have continued Russian offensive operations, fighting reported towards Ivanivsky, Klishevka, as well as Andriivka. And I think, is there anything at Kudyumivka? No, there's nothing at Kudyumivka. So this is the situation, is still the same strategic situation around this area here. Over at Ivanivsky, we have some geolocation or video footage of Ukrainians infantry fighting vehicle getting hit, even though it's hiding behind one of the buildings. And I'm not sure what hit it. It might be an anti-tank guided missile. It might be artillery hit, a very accurate artillery hit. I'm not sure. And over the northern part of Ivanivsky, so we are now in the northern northern part of Bakhmut. I want to cover a bit more on the Ivanivsky because there is a front line change around this area here. Russian forces have taken more grounds in this northern part, and as they expanded their offensive that was originally heading towards Chasivya. So the attack was heading in this direction. The Russian forces flanked southward and move southward and attack towards Ivanivsky. The objective is to take this ground in the northern outskirts of Ivanivsky, because the Russians have already had the eastern, and with this combined front line, the Russians will be able to conduct effective urban operations from two different directions, crushing the Ukrainian in a pincer movement from the north and from the east. And under such an onslaught, immediately the northeast will have to give up, withdraw to the west, and they will be effectively pushed out very quickly after some bombardments in the west, and then they can actually push in. This is becoming a standard in terms of the Russians doctrine. From what I'm seeing in Ukraine, they no longer try to just infiltrate into a settlement, particularly a bigger one, from just one vector. They will close down from another area so that they have at least from two different directions attack into the village or the settlement and put maximum pressure on the Ukrainian defenders. So this is the situation over at the Ivanivsky, and along the road there is also the interesting usage of anti-aircraft artillery systems. These are basically huge machine guns, or and it's a flat gun meant to shoot at the aircraft. The Russians use it to fire at ground targets. So it's a flat gun, so as a result it does explode into some kind of like a cluster munition style of attack into the Ukrainian positions. So that's the situation over in this area here. At Bodanivka, we continue to have this information of clash between the two sides. The Russians reportedly attacking, the Ukrainians are also reportedly attacking. So we will continue to monitor to see what's happening. Because the mention of Bodanivka can be very subjective, it could also be meaning that the Ukrainians are actually conducting counteroffensive along the highway, and they can still call this as part of Bodanivka. So, and that could also explain why the Russian front line has not changed, and instead it actually went southward. So this is the situation over in the northern part of Bakhmut Front. If we move on, over at the Siversk Front. So this is Siversk city, and so this is the Siversk Front, and at the Siversk Front, the Russian forces attacked over at Horlivka in the Luhansk region. This is pretty usual already. This is very normal. Ukrainian forces are still being reported to be attacking Horlivka. However, it could also be a counterattack over in the same Horlivka around here. However, in the report, I want to show you the report. The Russian Defense Ministry's report did not mention Luhansk. They say that they are fighting in the just close to Bilogorovka, which is Horlivka, and they did not really mention Luhansk region, which they usually do. So I can only map it based on their reports, which is actually in this direction over here, Horlivka. Then there is this very interesting report from the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting in the north of Vasily. They repelled Russian attack in the north of Vasily. Vasily is this settlement that has been captured by the Russians on the 18th of January. To be fighting in the northern part would suggest that the Russians are attacking from the railway line, or they are attacking from the settlement itself up against Ukrainian positions. Ukrainians are holding the high grounds in this area here. This entire area here is hills. So there's a series of hills in this northern part of Vasily, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reporting that the Russians attack north of Vasily might suggest that the Russians may have captured some grounds in the area of Vasily that was previously not reported by anyone else. So we will continue to monitor to see what's the situation around this area here. Very, very intriguing that Vasily is being mentioned in this way. And we move on to the Kreminna Front. So this is Kreminna, and this is the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, we have the almost the usual. The Russians are attacking Terny, and Ukrainians attacking Yampolivka and Dibrova. So this is the strategic situation. it doesn't look as much as the previous one. There was 2 more arrows in the previous one, but we shall continue to monitor. There's no frontline changes being reported over in this sector. There is geolocation of fighting some fighting in this area here. As you can see, it's pretty snowy, and Russian forces is reportedly moving within the forest region here over this area here. There's some humans there, you can see, very small. So yeah, support me in the mapping, become a DPA officer. You can get direct link. If not, then you just go to the respective Telegram channel. This one is Creamy Caprice. And so otherwise, yeah, this is the situation over in the Kreminna Front. We move on. There's nothing over the Svetoe Front. You went quiet. We move into the Kupyansk Front. So this is Kupyansk city, and this is Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, Russian forces is reportedly attacking at Avdiivka, as well as Crimea. No, Syrsky was not reported to be fighting. And the Ukrainian forces attack over at the Liman Lake region at Syrsky, over at the Timkovka region, and at Avdiivka. So I'm not sure if the Russians are actually even attacking at all, or are they just holding positions, and the Ukrainians are the one actually launching these major counter-offensive actions to distract the Russians away from their main offensive in the Bakhmut Front and the Avdiivka Front. So, and also at the Donetsk Front. So we will see how this progress. I got a sense that this is Syrsky, trying to make a statement, launching all these major offensive operations to try to raise the morale, because so far there is a lot of sources confirming that the appointment of Syrsky as the commander-in-chief has been taken very badly by both soldiers and the civilians in Ukraine. So that's the situation over in the Kupyansk Front. There is a geolocation of fighting in the Syrsky region. I think it's the Russian forces moving through the forest, trying to overcome minefields and landing troops in this area here. So yeah, so some actions around in the Syrsky region. As you can see, it's still pretty snowy, and but having it a lot of snow might suggest that this footage might be a little bit old by maybe a week or a few days, because if we go into the weather report, so if we look at the weather in Ukraine, let me refresh. Oh my god, we go back to Ukraine. I don't know why it hangs every time. So in Ukraine, the weather is actually above zero. It's still, and which means that we are now in spring in Ukraine, and you can see that in the Kharkiv region is 3 degrees, in the near Kramatorsk is around 3 degrees, so it's already above zero. And if you look at Kherson, it's already 9 degrees, so it's getting a bit warm. And in the Berdyansk region was 6, so the temperature in Ukraine is already above zero. There shouldn't be any more snow. If they are just melting really slowly. And but there is no much rain, so the muddy season is not here yet. So it's going to be cool but dry, and the muddy season is not here yet, but once it's here, I think it's going to be disastrous. So far, as the weather, the wind is going all over the place. If you look within Russia itself and in Ukraine, the wind is heading from all over different directions. So not yet. The water from Black Sea is not being blown into Ukraine just yet. We will continue to monitor the situation, and once the Rasputitsa is here, I will let you know. And so yeah, this is the SITREP and the summary for the day of 719 for the 12th of February. Do press the like button, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think of some of the changes to the SITREP, and I'll see you guys in the next update.